Welcome to Working Horses with Jim. It's a frosty morning this morning. It's 23 below zero. We just wanted to take you along with us this morning and show you what we do on these cold days if we can get the equipment to work to video. So we do have an outdoor furnace that we use to keep the house warm, but it is an old farmhouse and we've done a lot of work to make it less drafty, but it gets cold on days like this. So we have this old wood stove and we just crank it up on days like this and enjoy the comfort of the heat right next to us. And it just helps with keeping everything warm. Of course, our beloved cat is enjoying the heat as well. Someone asked how she's doing. She's doing great.
Okay, this is our dry kiln. This is where our water supply is. And once again, another cold morning like this at 20 below zero, you're gonna have issues. Now, our water actually comes from our well into this building, which used to be the old milk house where we were milking cows. And so from there, it would go to our house. So we realized when we stopped milking cows, we had to have a way to keep this building warm so that we could still have water to our house. So we chose to put this into a dry kiln, and so that's what we have here. We have it well insulated with these insulation boards, and we have a Modine heater over there that is a heat source that comes from our outdoor furnace. So the outdoor furnace is like 170 degrees, so it has plenty of heat to heat this room also. We have a small amount of lumber in here for just a very small lumber order that I had to dry for a customer. That's already dry, so I've turned the heat down fairly low in here, and apparently I had it down a little bit too low last night. Things are not frozen solid, but my hose right here that I carry to plug into the horse barn has actually froze up. I checked earlier and we had a little bit of water coming through, but now it's stopped. So I'm thinking, I have a thermometer over here that actually says it's about just a little bit above zero. I don't know if you could say, yeah, it does show. I mean, just a little bit above freezing. Well, that's about 30 degrees right there. So
I'm seeing your breath in here when you're talking though.
I most definitely have turned my heater up a little bit, and I'll turn it up even more. But what happens, as you all know, heat rises. So up in the higher parts of this room, it's warmer than down on the floor. So what I do with my hose is throw it on the lumber pile so it's a little bit higher off the ground so it's less apt to freeze. Like even though it's above freezing at this height, on the floor it's actually below freezing. So we have two faucets, a cold and hot faucet right here, and both of these are running fine. And I'm going to turn the hot water on. That's hot, yeah. And we have a heat exchanger. We have a heat exchanger right here. This unit right here. And so we have hot water available out here at all times.
Do you want to explain how the heat gets over here from the furnace? Because it's a long ways away.
Well, there's these PEX pipes that come in through that wall right there. And that's how the heat...
And they're buried underground.
Yes, so they won't freeze. And they're very hot. So anyways, I put just a little bit of water here. Unfortunately, we have a good drain over here. And so I'm just going to kind of coat this area here with water, hot water, and it's quite hot. And hopefully that's all it will take to get this going. I'm actually going to turn the hot water on. I just normally have the cold water on, and hopefully very soon the water will come out. See, it's already started. Maybe. So I'll probably do it one more time. Our one more time turned into 2 or 3 more times, but we finally got it thawed out so we could go water the horses.
Jim is quickly getting the water line up and running before it freezes again.
So So we've had a lot of comments over the last few months, especially since they redid the horse barn. People asking, well, why don't I have water bowls in their stalls? On the summer months it would work, although I still would question whether I'd want to do that. But this horse barn that we have is not that warm. The ceiling's insulated, block wall, which is very cold, and this wall here is insulated, but still it gets cold in this barn. So the water is just complete out of the question for the wintertime, because it would just freeze up and then the pipes would burst and then it'd just be a nuisance. So the way I do my water, by carrying them over and putting into this pipe, the ones into here, that's been working pretty good over the years. Another thing, people think horse manure doesn't freeze, and horse manure is very good about not freezing. But we have frozen horse manure this morning right in the barn. It's not that terribly bad, but you can see the white on it and it's froze. You know, when I go to kick it, it does come off, but it's still froze. There's times when we have 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row this cold, I can't even the skid steer, I'll go through and I'll get the bulk of the manure out of here, but a lot of it's still frozen to the floor. As I said earlier, as everybody realizes, heat rises, so the floor, concrete floor, is cold as can be. Let me show you in the colts stall how that looks there. Here. Okay, so as you can see, let me just get my shovel.
Well, look at
Yes.
Duke's got icicles on his butt where he was laying down.
And this is a steel shovel, which I generally use a plastic shovel, but if I did use a plastic shovel today, I would tend to break it. But this manure is it's froze pretty good here. A lot of this manure, as I clean this barn, will just stay here because I just can't get the frozen manure out of here. This barn could use a little more tightening up this end, but you know, these horses, they have a whole barn, but with very few drafts through here. Whereas if they were outside, as bad as it is in here, it's a lot worse outside. And a lot of people claim, and maybe they're right, I don't know, but they claim, oh, the horses would much rather be outside. And I don't know how many times I've been here, and it's chore time, feeding time, but just even when it's not, they're outside, they're standing right at the door wanting to come in. So it's hard for me to believe that these horses don't enjoy it in here.
Yeah, they do. They've been doing that a lot lately, standing, looking in the window and inside to come in.
So we'll get these guys watered, and some of them will go outside, and some of them won't. I am still planning on logging this afternoon, and yeah, we'll get farm clean and go from there. So this is a continuation of a cold day here. The cows need a little bit of hay outside, so I've had decided not to work this morning, and now we had an early lunch and I'm going to head to the woods, but I decided to run out a bale of hay to the cows first. Truth be told, I kind of played hooky this morning and spent plenty of time in by the fire having coffee, but I did get a few odds and ends done. As you can see, it froze pretty hard to the bale. The guy, my neighbor down the road, he bales my hay for me with these round bales, and sometimes he uses this is what they call net wrap, and the other stuff is just regular twine he wraps around. I must say I love this net wrap because it's just so much easier to get off in the wintertime. When he uses the twine, a lot of times it's buried, some of it's buried deep underneath the hay, whereas the net wrap all tends to be right on top, and it's pretty easy to cut out of here. Okay, so now I got the twine off, but I need to get this bale rolled over so they can completely get it off, and then I'll hitch the chain back onto it and skid it out to the cows. I forgot I have my logging tongs right here. I did this a couple of times before. Usually when I'm hauling this hay, I don't have the tongs because they're on. This is my logging cart, and the logging cart is not always here. So let me show you a trick I found that works really good. Let's use this chain. So you see I have the logging tongs drove into the back right there. And so all I have to do is hitch the chain onto this end of the logging tongs. And drop it into there. Now what I'm going to do in this situation, instead of driving them, because when I jump on to drive them, they're going to tend to, they know there's a somewhat heavy load here, so they're going to tend to go faster. So what I'm going to do is just walk up in front of them and actually lead them up. So you just stay right here and we'll just, I'll have them pull ahead a little bit, just enough to get off the, so this is basically on the ground. A little bit. Oh, beautiful. See how slick that worked? Now, I just pulled the plastic off, continue getting the twine or the net wrap off, and we'll be good to go. Cap is down. Yeah, like that. Oh, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Oh. So now I just got to flip the hay rack over the hay. And it's good for the cows. Here they come. And here we go. Okay, we're down at our landing now, and this afternoon all I'm going to do is haul logs from my upper landing to my lower landing. Yesterday we had Andy worked for a little while in the afternoon, and I worked in the afternoon. We didn't work in the morning down here, and we had other stuff to do, but I mostly just cut and skid to the upper landing, although I brought I think 3 hitches down myself, and then Andy brought the rest of this down yesterday. I think it was 3 hitches he had brought down of odds and ends, firewood and saw logs, cat logs, basswood logs, just a little combination of everything. These are my maple logs that I'm gathering up here so far. Some are fairly good, some aren't so good. There'll be some pallet logs in there also, but most of my pallet logs I'm putting down on this pile over here. And then all of the basswood and all the firewood, all the basswood and all the ash logs and that big hickory log that I had is in this pile here. And so I am sure that my skid steer probably won't start today, and I'm not even going to try. It's just barely hovering about 0 right now, but it's just incredible out today. It's just as calm as can be. Usually, so often, the wind whips across this field, and if it was 0 right now like it is on a windy day, it would be almost unbearable. But being calm like it is today, it's just a really pleasant day to be working. So I will just skid a bunch of trees down, and I will probably put them back there in that general area, and that's all I would do this afternoon. For those of you that are maybe just finding my channel for the first time, my videos are kind of a continuation of the day before or the last time I was put a post out. I would encourage you, if you're enjoying my videos, to try to hit everyone in order, because some of the stuff I'm saying is just kind of a continuation from my last video. Let's head on out of here. Guess so. Okay, so here we are at our upper landing, and I don't have too much here, but I have this ugly old top log here. I got this big old maple. There's two 10-footers here, so I think it's 20 feet long, and if I remember, that butt was 3.5 feet wide, so that's quite a piece there. And I could either haul the whole thing down or cut it in half. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitches here, 5 pieces here. So all I'm going to do is skid this stuff down today. And I guess I got a question for you all. If you're interested in answering it, how many hitches will it take to get all this wood to the landing? I got this big one here, that one there, those few pieces there, and all this here, and I actually have several more over there that I could grab if I had time. So my question is, how many hitches do I have here, and how long will it take this afternoon to get it down to the landing? It is just 1 o'clock right now, so I'm curious what your thoughts are. Now remember, to do this fairly, right after I'm done talking here, you need to stop the video and go to the comments and put your guess as to how long it's going to take to skid all this down. And we'll see what happens. I honestly don't know myself. I was thinking I could easily take this all down this afternoon, but there's still 1, 2, 3 more pieces here to get also. So who knows? Can I do it or can't I? We'll get going and find out. So that's quite a lot of weight right there. 2 10-foot maples. As you see, I have a cradle hitch on that, so it'll help hold that up high. It's got a bow to it also, but you'll see there's nothing touching for a little ways on this log, so that'll help allow it to be pulled easier. So we'll head down to the landing. Okay, we made it down. It was just 15 minutes. Of course, the actual time is probably only 10 minutes because by the time I got hitched up and all. But generally, it's a half a mile in, so it's about 10 minutes walking both ways, so a 20-minute round trip. So we brought this big old maple down, and I'm just curious myself what the scale is on it, and I won't get an accurate scale because I'm going to cut it in half right now. But let's just see what we have, at least on the back log. We got them steaming a little bit on our first hitch. Before the day's out, they'll be steaming worse than that. But it's understandable with a hitch this big. So that butt log I know is 10 foot because I marked it right there. And this is 10 foot also. So now I realize there's a little bit of punky wood in that stretch there, but there's gonna be a lot of white wood around here just the same. It won't be a high quality log by any means, but I don't know, it might be I'm hoping to get a number 2 out of it, but that's another story as to what that all means. But anyways, so to measurement, it's 10 feet long, so it's 235 board feet in this log right here. A little bit less that way, but call it 230. So if that's 230, this butt log is probably 280 or more. So even if it's only 270 and 230, that's 500 board feet in a maple. Look at the steam come off them boys. It's funny because after they stop, this doesn't start steaming until just a few minutes later, then the steam pours right off them. And it's not even noticeable on a warmer day, but on a cold day like this, they really make a lot of steam. So anyways, I'm going to unhitch and go back and get a few more hitches, and probably won't show much of them until we get to the last hitch of the day, and I will show the landing and see how we progressed. It's so nice on days like this that even though I have equipment, if I'm set up right, I don't even have to think about starting equipment on these cold days, and I can just log, which is great. Okay, here's my last hitch. I've got everything cleaned up. And so I will head down with this. This is my 5th hitch this afternoon. And when I get to landing, I will tell you the time and show you, go from there. Okay, here's my last hitch. As you had noticed, I actually had 4 pieces when I left the upper landing. And I was about halfway out and I lost one of them. And I didn't realize it was too late. I didn't have enough chains to pull it up to me. So I just left it in the trail. Tomorrow I'll have to just roll it out of the way as I go by and pick it up on my first hitch out. And so, but that's just the way it happens sometimes. So these are all the logs, and it took me 5 hitches to bring them out. This whole section right here, this section up farther is what we did yesterday afternoon. And so yeah, it's 3:30. So that's just 2.5 hours to skid this stuff out, which may or may not seem like a lot for everybody. But when you're skidding a half a mile, in my opinion, that's a pretty good amount for one day with with one afternoon, well, actually just 2.5 hours with one team of horses. The general rule of thumb with horses is you don't want to skid anything farther than 1/4 mile, and this was 1/2 mile. So yeah, I'd say that the horses did quite well. They are fairly steamed up, but when you work hard in the wintertime, it seems worse than in the summer in a crazy sort of a way, just because they got, as you can see, frost all over them. And I am not so concerned with how much horses sweat. I'm more concerned on how their breathing is. And when I look at these horses from just coming down with this skid, and I think I stopped one time, you know, there's no amount of breathing to them. They're just comfortably breathing. So anyways, that's what we got. And I'm going to head home because it's supposed to get 14 below zero tonight. Last night was 23 below. And even now it feels like it's well below zero. So I would just as soon call it a day. And that's what I'm going to do. So you guys have a great day yourself. And we'll see you next time.